I'm not Mitch Connor, and it kind of bugs me when I hear some YouTubers saying ISIS is fake. Now, I've kind of come to differentiate between Islamic State and ISIS, where the fake videos, the fake execution videos, I call ISIS videos, and I generally refer to Islamic State as the actual warring elements out there, okay? And those that do the real execution videos, because there are real ones. And that's important to understand, and you can go to bestgore.com yourself. It's one amongst many possible sources, but it's got quite a lot there under the execution, the beheading, and the murder sections of that website. But though it is CIA and Western intelligence controlled, created all that crap, okay, and armed, via the weapons transfers going back to the fall of Gaddafi in Libya back in 2011, and even though the Syrian civil war, as they call it, that's going on, that is really just a Western proxy army of a bunch of compartmentalized, radicalized fools. That were basically sent in there, many from other countries in their area, in the region, because Bashar al-Assad, Syria's president, did not want to do an oil agreement, because they had one with Gazprom in Russia. Okay, but the Islamic State is real, and let's not forget though that this flag here is the Al-Qaeda flag. Okay, it's the same flag. I've shown it before. This isn't about showing stuff. This is just kind of more of a talk about just what I've been researching. It's too much right now. I don't have the time, but I just want to put this out just to kind of lay out where I stand on things. And yeah, they are even training children. Okay. They are throwing gays off roofs. I've seen more than enough footage and to confirm this. The throwing gays off roofs, that was suspect at first, kind of because of the fake videos starting with James Foley, and it was because they weren't showing enough, it wasn't like one continuous scene, There were cuts in numerous camera angles, but you couldn't tell, if there was another cameraman down there or not because of the angles. So that was covered up with those, But I mean, there are many of the fake execution videos where you can tell, okay, they did multiple takes there, because you would be able to see the camera, see one of the cameras, because they have numerous angles of stuff. Okay. I've seen some really sick, barbaric stuff over the last year, especially last probably 4 or 5 months, showing the brutality of these people, this so-called Islamic State. And whether or not, this is a true portrayal of Islam, I can't say for sure, because there's many different, it's similar to Christianity, where there's many different sects, many different denominations, basically, even an American version, the Nation of Islam, which is clearly not the same as a lot of the things that got going on in the Middle East. Though Wahhabism seems to play a part. This is part of the Sunni sect of Islam, and I was listening to Michael Savage's show. Michael Savage is very he's kind of anti-Islam, but it's because of the violence and all, I guess, I don't know. I'd let him speak for himself on that, but I was listening, what was the date? It was a Thursday. I want to say it was the 10th or the 3rd. And I think it was in the second hour. You can find his radio shows on YouTube if you want to check him out, but there's this particularly interesting caller that called in because he was a Muslim, and it was right after the San Bernardino shooting. And the Muslim was like, no, Wahhabism is the problem. Okay, it's not Islam, it's Wahhabism. Supposedly bin Laden was a Wahhabist. And I'll let you read up on it on your own. I'm not going to talk at length about Wahhabism. But it seems to be a big part of the ideology that leads to, this sort of very I see they call it fundamentalism often too, and it's like that's probably not fundamentalism, but it's certainly extremist, certainly barbaric. And like if a Muslim wants to believe in Sharia law, fine, but keep it to yourself, apply it to yourself, okay? See, that's one thing that Christianity does not do as far as what the scripture actually says, okay? Like, yeah, the Holy Roman Empire did this kind of crap, and the Islamic State so reminds me of the Holy Roman Empire, and there is some evidence that the Vatican is in part behind it, if not completely behind it, by the way, behind all this radical extremism and stuff, because it's so akin to that, and so akin to fascism, to Nazism, in it's not like using all the same terminologies and stuff, but the actions are much the same, brutally killing dissidents and all that stuff. So, in principle, it's the same. Now, the Islamic State is not a threat to America in the sense, and this is what I meant originally when I was recently making a video on this. It's not a threat to America in the sense of it's going to take over the country, okay? It is potentially a threat to Americans. Now, as far as San Bernardino, I can't say for sure, but the three, like I said before, the three male shooters, that's awfully suspicious, and like, I don't know, who knows, if the Malik and Saeed Farouk had anything to do with that. They could have been complete patsies, they could have been kidnapped or something, who knows. They could have been kidnapped and then basically like executed. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what happened. But there is more than one witness that said there were three shooters, and they were white male and, athletic builds. And then there's the Garland, Texas shooting from the Muhammad cartoon contest shooting from, what was that, last June or so? See, and I did this on purpose, okay, what I'm about to talk about. But I didn't say that I was doing it, okay? Like, what happened there, if it actually happened basically the way it was reported, was very unlikely. There were numerous aspects to the story that were quite unlikely, including the being able to shoot through the bulletproof vest with the gun that the officer had, being to shoot as accurately as he was able to in that pressure-filled situation, where it took gun experts what was it, 3 times to get it. They got on the 3rd try doing that sort of shooting, that sort of technique. Though, I can't say whether it was or wasn't them on the crime scene, but I went through the crime scene, I never stated a position on it. I was just this part's suspicious, this part's suspicious, But I was kind of trying to make a subtle point there, concerning what I was noticing with so-called truthers who are calling all these things hoaxes and stuff. Where are you even able to show anything from the crime scene that proves fraud? When if you can, okay, great. That's significant. And there were a few anomalies, but I couldn't say what caused them. I couldn't say if it was a Photoshop sort of thing or it was just some sort of photographic anomaly. I just thought it was kind of weird. Some of the pieces on the ground looked sunken into the pavement, for instance. I seem to remember. And though I couldn't completely identify them, what was his name, Sufi or something, the Arabic guy, who you could see the top of his head, and you could see a beard there, and it looked like it resembled him, but I couldn't positively identify him because I didn't have a straight on look at his face, and the black guy, God, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but there really wasn't a good shot of him. So that very well could have been those guys, very well could have been a legitimate kind of thing. But I wasn't sure, because I've seen so much fraud in the war on terror, and at that time, At that time, I was kind of convinced that ISIS was fake. I've come to change my mind completely on that, and I even have a deeper opinion on what is going on with the execution videos, even the fake ones, and why they are fake. And of course, I'm not going to show anything concerning these Islamic State videos because, well, I didn't start releasing this series until my strike for gore was up, because I accidentally published a video for 10 seconds breaking down a fake Islamic State video, okay, and showing that it was fake with like frame by frame type stuff. But have you noticed that since Peter Kassig, there's been barely anything focusing on there's been a few things, but for the most part, it's not focusing on Western nations and stuff and like threatening them and blah, 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 you Obama and Jihadi John and all that crap, Jihadi John kind of disappeared after that and just happens to die, supposedly, allegedly, after Russia starts attacking the Islamic State. And I presume that is complete public relations, okay? Just because Russia was making America look really bad. And I'm gonna go over to Russia for a sec, because like on my backup channel I got this Who's the Villain, America or Russia video, okay. And my opinion on Russia, see, I'm in support of what they're doing, because like the United States created this problem. They created this problem starting in the 1970s, and really Islamic terrorism actually goes back further than that. What was it, like 1920s with the Muslim Brotherhood, which is still around today, who are connected to Hillary Clinton through Huma or whatever the hell her name is, her top aide, okay, and which is very, very suspicious. And they got put into power in Egypt for a little bit there during the Arab Spring crap. But yeah, there's a history to this whole Islamic terrorism thing, but the Mujahideen, which they're always talking Mujahideen in the Islamic State videos, that comes from Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Jimmy Carter administration in 1979 when they trained the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, led by Osama bin Laden, to fight against Russia, okay? Now, because the United States basically created this problem, this is why I'm in support of Russia doing what they're doing over there. Because if the United States keeps interfering in this, well, they're going to keep creating, fabricating stuff just to get what they want, which is basically control of oil over there. That's for the most part. Assad isn't ally, so they want to take him out. He doesn't want to comply with their economic endeavors, so they want to take him out. And I just found out that the AP removed this story saying we're not going to remove Assad for now. He can stay for now. See, Russia's making them look so bad, and they're actually presenting proof of their actions, their bombing campaigns on the Islamic State, and yeah, even the Free Syrian Army, who, by the way, are just as freaking radical, okay? They're into the beheadings and all that too, okay? They're barbaric as hell. They want Sharia law too, because they're barbaric as hell. And if you think Islam is a valid religion, well, I don't hate anybody who's a Muslim, okay? Just for being a Muslim, okay? I judge by their actions, any individual. But Muhammad, and I read this in a post World War II encyclopedia, and there was a quote by Muhammad that said that Christianity is to Judaism as Islam is to Christianity, okay? So where are the prophecies about Islam in the New Testament? Because in the Old Testament, there's over 300 prophecies about Christ and what would happen in his life that are confirmed to be minimum 300 years before Christ existed, and that not one single Jew understood during Christ's life and until after he was resurrected, okay? He came back and taught the apostles, showed them, this is about me, this is about me, this is about me. Over 300 instances. Where's that with Islam? So how is that an Abrahamic religion? I don't get it. Hey, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or should I call you Lou Alcindor? Where are the prophecies about Muhammad or Islam in the New Testament? Because they're not there. I've read the Bible. So, I've studied the Greek a bit even, okay? There's nothing about Islam. So anyway, Russia, I don't care about this article, I just care about the fact that Kerry said that, we don't need regime change for now. Yeah, that's because Russia's making them look that bad. I'm just freestyling this, so I probably got a little bit repetitive there. But back to the beheading videos. Once again, since Peter Kassig. What has been the main theme? It's agents and homosexuals and people who are breaking Sharia law that are getting executed, okay? Now, there's so many layers to it that's just suspect, like with some of the scenes in which they're being interrogated, which are just too nice. I mean, they look like something out of a movie, like an underground bunker that's super technological or something like that, like something you'd see in a comic book movie almost. There's brain fart there. Yeah, they're focusing on these do seem to me to be like recruitment type videos, like, and there's more than just executions. I mean, there's war footage and like, okay. No, there's even numerous media centers, which the United States apparently knows where they are, yet won't bomb them because they don't want to kill civilians. I wouldn't say that if they're actually doing this stuff, putting out this propaganda, that they're actually civilians. I would say that they're the propaganda arm of the Islamic State military, even if they're working in conjunction with the CIA, which, yeah, they pretty much are. There's a decent amount of evidence for that, I don't know, I got some sources somewhere in here. Maybe I'll show them, but about their media centers and stuff. And I mean, you could end the propaganda right there. Not that it wasn't supposed to end, since al-Baghdadi allegedly sent out a message. Al-Baghdadi, who we haven't seen in a year, who I'm sorry is not that Simon, whatever the hell his name is. I'm sorry, that's not the same guy. That guy that was pictured with John McCain. I considered it, for a while, but the more I look at it, the more it's like, no, they look similar. Maybe they could be brothers or something, but they're not the same person. That doesn't mean that, that Baghdadi isn't a CIA agent or something. I mean, New York Times was saying he was fake back in 2007, that he didn't exist. And by the way, al-Baghdadi is like the Baghdadi, just like al-Amikri or whatever the heck it is, however the heck they spell it, is the American, or al-Britannia is the Britain. The al means the. I learned that recently. So things I've said about that, yeah, I just didn't know. But okay, like there are genuine videos of executions, often raw, lower quality. They're not that HD quality and all that, and they do get uploaded, okay, onto the internet. So who's to say that some of those don't get grabbed by these media centers? These media centers might not be, completely in cahoots. They may be more in cahoots with the CIA and stuff, and they get grabbed off the internet and then put into these, some of these propaganda videos and stuff, There's also copycats. I remember seeing one that stuck out to me in particular in Uzbekistan that was trying to be just like it, but it was low quality and uncut execution. And they were claiming Islamic State. Seen numerous ones from other countries too. But especially the high quality ones seem to me, and I can't understand most of what they're saying, unless there's subtitles, but it seems to me that they are actually recruiting tools and fear-mongering tools, it's to be like, don't mess with us kind of thing, like, we're tough guys, don't mess with us or something. or to invigorate the, anti-Jew sentiments, anti-apostate sentiments amongst particularly Sunni Muslims. But the warring that's going on there is legitimate. I've seen more than enough proof now. I wish I remember the name of the documentary, and I think I saw it on Journeyman Pictures YouTube channel, where some journalists actually went in with al-Nusra, and they had schools in northwest Syria where they were training children in military tactics and all sorts of other educational practices. And these children were completely into it. They had fervor. They believed in what they were doing, and they wanted to kill the infidels and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And that really disturbed me, seeing that too. And yet it was kind of fascinating seeing like the unity amongst them, and like there was like love amongst the people there, but at the same time what they're doing is just completely wrong. They're brainwashing these kids from a young age, and to being ruthless killers. And it's disgusting, especially if it's an Abrahamic religion, for Christ's sake. Christ was the fulfillment of the Mosaic covenant. He was it. So what was the need for Islam, which is, as far as I can tell, mostly based on Old Testament type stuff, which was overturned by the Son of God, who's not just a prophet, he was the Son of God. He was the fulfillment of the Mosaic covenant, because nobody else could do it. Because it was not possible for any man to be able to do it except for the Son of God, to fulfill all those Levitical laws, many of which are followed by the Islamic State and by Islam, particularly Sunni Islam, it seems to me, and Wahhabism and stuff. And it very well could have been Islamic State people who carried out what happened in Paris recently, the shootings like with the Bataclan Theater and all. But there's reason to doubt what happened in San Bernardino, but there's reason to doubt Garland, though that one may very well have been completely legitimate. Though, there's something wrong with the Twitter stuff, as far as I could tell. Maybe those guys were set up just like all the other, the supposed busted terrorists, that were basically entrapped by the FBI. And that's been all of them. Or was it all but one? I mean, in essence, it's hard to tell what's real and what's not, And that I will be addressing in the part about the media, which I think will be the next part in this series, because it's a very important aspect to this whole thing, and to many of these news events that people are calling hoaxes and stuff, which I see less and less credibility to those who are doing that, especially the larger channels. But to have a black and white kind of perspective about the Islamic State I think is a mistake too. But I don't prescribe to like anything that like any major figure says. Maybe one part or some parts here and there, but it's like I kind of think for myself. I see mistakes in the thinking with all of them, and that's like being gracious to them, because some of them, are purposely being divisive, with like the Republican Democrat crap and all that, and there's more to it, but this isn't about that. But yes, in my opinion, the Islamic State needs to be taken the hell out. I just think not by America. I wish Donald Trump would realize that, because I see a 50-50 chance that guy might be the greatest modern president, or might be a complete fascist, and I don't know. We'll see, because I think he's going to be the next president now, and it might all be a total psyop. an ingenious psyop, basically telling the American people what they want to hear in such a way to where, the powers that be will get what they want. And all this doesn't change the fact that I think that the next president will be a Republican, and that there will be another false flag attack a la 9/11 that will basically get troops on the ground over there. Though I don't know if if Islamic State's going to be able to take out Assad. They might just have a backup plan for that, but I'm not totally sure yet. But nonetheless, they want control of that area because of the oil. Because, sorry, America's an oligarchy. Okay, there's a marriage between major corporations and government. And it's not the corporations controlling government, it's a marriage. Okay, they're not controlling each other, they're working together. And it's even in, the Federal Reserve and the comprehensive annual financial reports. They're invested monetarily in each other. And then there's the refugee situation, which, I'm sorry, the refugees being brought into Europe just left an opening for Islamic State guys to come in there and do the Bataclan attacks. And there's a possibility of it happening in America, I think more investigation needs to be done into the San Bernardino. Whether I'll have time to do it, I don't know. But the attack was not fake. I see no reason to believe it was fake. Okay. Maybe there's a lack of evidence for it, but with the refugees coming in, okay, like, immigration needs to be straight up cut off. Like, this is, I hope Trump isn't just talking crap, and I don't know if he'll be able to do it without Congress, but I would love to see a wall put up on the Mexican border. I don't know about Canada, because, as far as culturally, we're pretty similar, but Mexico and the United States are not quite. But, if they're going to come over through there, and even that isn't enough, because if they come over by airplane or anything like that, or they can come straight over to America via boat, still, it needs to be cut off, just in case, because, that could be would you necessarily call it a false flag, or would you just basically call it allowing it to happen? And that's the way I see the Paris attacks, is they were allowed to happen. And all the refugees going into Europe was part of it. And I'm sorry for what's happened to, those people who are not violent people, who do not support Sharia law and all this barbaric extremism, okay? I would love to see those people helped, but if there's a potential of a threat, a violent threat coming along with them, especially in the magnitude as such, no, leave them there. No, you guys got to take care of what your problems, get some help from Russia, I guess, because that's, you're not going to really get help from the United States, and it's the United States' fault that all this is happening. The government's fault, the military's fault, the intelligence agency's fault. And I feel that anybody that thinks otherwise is just completely naive. The people who are like, bring us, you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor. No, you're freaking naive, okay? This isn't the 1800s. And even the 1800s, there was some bad stuff that came over then, but they wouldn't do mass attacks on random people and stuff, Yeah. But just because I'm for these ideas, some of these ideas that Trump is peddling, doesn't mean I support the guy. It's more complicated than that, like, I don't judge by words, I judge by actions. Judge a tree by their fruits. Well, I don't completely know Donald Trump's fruits yet, as in accordance with what he might do as president of the United States. And that's not like I don't know some of his fruits from his past. Okay, I did share a documentary, and it's called What's the Deal? And that channel has been terminated. This documentary was shelved for 25 years. It was because Donald Trump threatened to sue the creator. This documentary wasn't politically motivated as far as I could tell either. I mean, Trump wasn't a politician, for one. He was, the strangest way, a public relations specialist, to get publicity, that's for sure. And he had some kind of dirty dealings going on back in the day, with his towers and stuff. And it's not even concerning the bankruptcy claims. It's concerning, like, purchasing buildings and kicking people out, and like hiring low wage immigrants or illegal immigrants and stuff, and screwing people over in business deals. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, he might be what the office of the President of the United States needs at this point. I'm interested to see what'll happen if he actually gets it. Some people say he's a shill for Hillary or whatever. Like, I don't think there's any, perfect evidence for anything like that. I really don't. I don't want to see the perpetual war, but I mean, there's a lot of things I disagree with. But, maybe it's just the fact that, the media knows that they've gotten distrusted so much that it's like, well, we'll put Trump out there, and like he'll say his politically incorrect crap, and we'll try to make him look bad, and we know it won't work because nobody trusts us anymore. And he'll become president, and he's our puppet. Could be like that, I don't know. He might be for real, He might not be controlled by anybody. We'll see. I still don't see any 100% proof. I mean, like, even just because a presidential candidate says, oh, we should take the oil, like he did on the Alex Jones interview. Maybe he's just thinking, in terms of for the sake of America or something, or, he's like, the spoils go to the winner, Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but, that doesn't mean that, he isn't thinking for himself. It's because, he could be thinking for himself, and he could just be foolish on that, It's complicated. And then if he is for real, well, he's going to have a hell of a time with Congress. This ain't going to be like the Obama administration where all the rhinos and Democrats are bound to everything Obama wants to do. But the one thing that sticks out to me, as far as what he said, is that he vocally supports what Russia is doing in Syria. So, and he's the only candidate that is. Even Rand Paul really isn't. Rand Paul's at least saying, that, like, yeah, basically America armed the Islamic State. But he's the only one that has had the balls to say that. And he really hasn't come up under much fire for it, and, like, he hasn't lost support for that. Because Americans want ISIS taken the hell out. That's why. They don't care if Russia's helping. That doesn't even matter. It's the fact that they're getting taken out because they're sick, barbaric culture that should not be in this world. That, yeah, that's the way I feel. And with that as it is, it doesn't matter, at least in that context, if they're, created by American intelligence agencies or what. Because they're still a sick, barbaric culture that is not good for this world and is going to create problems, at least starting in their region, and like they've already spread to Europe. That's a problem. And it's not like the United States couldn't take them out. They just don't want to. It's not, because Obama's a bleeding heart Democrat, liberal, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want to kill the civilians. That's a bunch of frickin' horse shit. He didn't seem to care in Pakistan with all the drone strikes. So why does he care so much about this? We don't want to hurt the civilians. They're not frickin', even this, if they are civilians, I mean, yeah, that is collateral damage, and in this case, I would say take them out. But I'd also say leave Assad the hell alone, and maybe try to improve relations with Iran, but not in the sort of way like with the Iran nuclear deal, which I don't think Congress has even passed yet. I haven't even been paying attention, but I've already stated that I think that is basically it was intended to be a temporary alliance, so the United States could finish taking Syria out with their proxy army, ISIS, al-Nusra, Free Syrian Army. It's all the same. Al-Qaeda. Maybe with some good diplomacy, get Iran to not say death to America, because what they're really meaning with that is death to the American government. It's no different than with Israel. Death to Israel is death to the Israeli government. It's not about Jews. And this is constantly misrepresented by Western media. But no, it's not about a race. It's not about a whole nation. It's about governments and what those governments and their agents have done. It's a long history of what's gone on in Iran. And, the Shah was a freaking puppet, was it Mossadegh they took out in 1951 with the CIA, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt's nephew, who was a CIA agent, and they staged a coup. So the United States has been messing with them for a long time, and it's mostly been about oil. So why wouldn't they hate the United States? Or rather, the government, that is. Oh, and furthermore, if Trump is for real, it doesn't mean that a false flag attack wouldn't slip under his nose, and he'd take it as completely real and just basically do what some call the shadow government want him to do, the movers and shakers of whatever, the oligarchy. Who's to say that he wouldn't just kind of, be manipulated? I mean, I see that as a total possibility too. Just a hawkish attitude, I mean, fuck with me, I'll fuck with you kind of thing. And, I would think that would be his response to it, He probably wouldn't look deeper into it. Maybe he would. I don't know, Or maybe, he'd accidentally surround himself with advisors who would basically try to manipulate him too. That's always a possibility too, It's like, I don't. You know what? I almost said it's not like he's one of the blue bloods, because like all their presidents are basically related, right? So maybe I should look into if he's related to any of those bloodlines. Maybe that's significant, because if he is, then I'd really worry. If he's not, that might be a really good thing. Look, the main point of this is the whole situation with the Islamic State is not black and white. It's not simple at all. It's quite complicated. And it's most certainly not all fake, and I think that a lot of researchers have misinterpreted the Islamic State is fake. There's quite a lot of evidence for it. And I really started changing my tune when I started seeing this bulldozer guy. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's this rather large, rotund man who can take a head off with one swipe with a scimitar or whatever the heck you call it, a sword. And I've seen him do it uncut, completely real. And many others. I have over 100 videos, Islamic State videos. High quality, low quality, edited, raw, real, and fake. I've studied this a lot, and there's people who have studied it more than me, like Nafis Hamed and on Medium.com has done many compelling articles on the subject. There's research institutes, though, I don't tend to see admissions that they're fake and stuff. They've done like even statistical measurements of the content of the videos that are actually accurate. But it's a complicated subject. But they exist, and they're a threat to the safety of people. They're not a threat to any Western nation as far as taking it over. I don't see that happening. But they're being used, yeah, as a proxy army, and taking them out is more complicated than just taking them out, because it doesn't stop the fact that there's an enemy within, in the United States and pretty much all Western nations. It doesn't change that at all. They'll come up with another scheme and another scheme to get what they want. It's kind of never ending. It's, they got the plausible deniability factor. They got the ability to meet in secret about things. So it's like, to completely expose them is, these sort of people will never be brought to trial. Never. It'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. But something, needs to be done. But this stuff is never going to end. The deception is never going to end. The quest for global dominance is never going to end. And that's an unfortunate reality. I mean, it's fascinating to learn about, but, it's not going to be stopped. I'm sorry.
Mitch Connor.